Welcome to another stock analysis video performed by MajesticTrader.com, where active traders see greater profits. So let's begin. Hi everybody, this is Ron.lang with MajesticTrader.com doing your weekly video analysis on the markets on today, November 4th, 2011 for the week of November 7th. 2011. And again, we had a very volatile week this week, and this is not for the faint of heart, that is for sure. You definitely need a full stomach to deal with the ups and downs of the markets. You can't even say, I mean, this is nowhere near a fundamental market. It's barely a technical analysis market. This is a headline driven market that is just pushing people and markets and countries all over the place. Last week, we had looked at this level here at 1256, 1257 as a good retracement level, which we shot right through, came back up and rested just under that level at 1253. We also looked at 23.6 retracement from the October 4th low to the high at the end of October, and we looked at this 23.6 or the 1240 level or 1241 level as pretty strong support. We got that yesterday and today. So where are we going from this point forward? Basically, it really rests in the hands of the EU and all the different countries there between the G20 summit, the ECB, how they may or may not put money into the ESFS fund and whatever other acronym you want to come up with. So where do we go from here, as I had thrown out the question? And realistically, I think we're just range bound. I think we're going to pretty much stay between the 1220 to 1227 level, and I don't think we're going to really break 1300 here unless we get some significant news, good catalyst, good conviction out of the EU to really propel these markets through the 1300 level to really break it by Thanksgiving and propel it into the end of the year. I know our latest call was 1300 to 1325 range before year end, and I still think we might get there, but I think for the next week or two leading into Thanksgiving, I think we're going to be very range bound. I don't think we're going to break 1300, so I'm looking between 1290 to 1300 to a low of 1220 to 1227. That's all going to be on the S&P. Let's take a look at our market leaders. We had talked about different zones on a lot of these market leader charts. And one of the things that we want to look for on the zones is not only where price is, but what about the volume of price going into these zones? So right now we're looking at IBM. Obviously, one of the big dogs here with the Dow and on the market, roughly 11% of the overall Dow movement. So one of the things that we're looking for here is, where do we see IBM going? It had a sharp fall earlier in the week when the markets really pulled back strong and then came back pretty good in the last couple of days. Well, let's look at our volume. As it's in this zone here, we're looking at weaker volume. So we're looking at a pullback here of at least 184, but I believe the pullback is going to be very strong to this 177, 178 level, probably in the next week or two. So let's just draw out our little level there. So I think if we get a strong pullback in the market, this is where we can see price end up here on IBM. Let's look at Chevron. Chevron had some other interesting action. We had looked at this very strong supply resistance zone here. We topped out, pulled back very strongly, and had some pretty decent price action. But notice, as we had some very good price action to retest this zone again, volume was very anemic. Didn't even reach the average volume over the last 14 days. So what are we looking for here? We could look to retest it at the 107 level, but realistically we're probably coming back to the 100 level. So let's draw a little spot there for where we think this is going to pull back over the next week or two and see if it does. Let's look at McDonald's. McDonald's has been the big leader in the Dow, reaching a new all-time high, not just a 52-week high. It is doing it on light volume, but look at this candlestick here where we had a tremendous amount of bullish action in today's pricing that really pushed this thing to an all-time high. Where do we look at this going? I will tell you we'll probably get a retest of the zone here at the 91.60, 91.70 level before it goes higher. So we're looking for a retest here. Unless we get some good news out of the EU, we could see this break 95 next week. Caterpillar has actually done very well price action wise. It broke through this very strong supply resistance level here, had the sharp pullback on Tuesday along with the rest of the market, and then shot right through with a couple of nice candlesticks here of bullish pressure, but had very light volume today. Again, the market had light volume today, but it was good to see it push through. So where are we looking at this going? Well, I think it'll retest this zone again, but if we get some good news out of Europe and we see some pretty good action here as far as price, we're probably looking at this going into the 101, 102 area here probably in the next week or two. So we'll identify that target there. Apple's been very disappointing. A lot of congestion and consolidation in here. Horrible volume today. For a market leader in this type of market as far as being up and down, it's good to see that the prices remain relatively stable and above 400, but horrible volume. Basically half of the average volume that it normally does, 10 million versus 20 million shares. Where are we looking at Apple? Well, I got to tell you, this is definitely supposed to be a market leader, but I really don't see a lot of good coming out of Apple here. Now I know that the fourth quarter is supposed to be its strongest quarter, but I'm looking at a pullback of Apple to the 375 level before it potentially breaks a new high if it gets record holiday sales. Google's pretty much has done the same thing as Apple. It's pretty much stayed in this congestion range. It's had moderate to below average volume. You could see it's sloping down. I don't really look at too much. Looking for too much for Google over the next couple of weeks. I think it remains relatively stable and relatively range bound between 602 and 570. ExxonMobil is another big Dow leader. One of the top 5 in Dow as far as movement. You could see it fell down with the market Monday and Tuesday, rebounded nicely. Poor volume today again with the rest of the market, but overall pretty good price action. I look at Mobil going higher, retesting its high over here made in October. Possibly even coming up to the supply resistance area. But will we see real buyers in this area here to propel it to highs over here where it reached in the April-May timeframe? Don't know. But I'm looking at this going higher before it goes lower. Walmart has had some terrific price action here since the middle of September. Horrible volume here over the last couple of days. So I'm actually looking at Walmart to peter out here in this 57.75, 58 level here. So I'm looking at this to be a pretty strong zone here that I am not looking at too many more buyers. I know, again, Q4 is supposed to be pretty strong for Walmart, but I'm looking for this to peter out and to pull back probably to the $53.50 to $53 level probably by Thanksgiving. Procter & Gamble actually has had pretty poor price action over the last couple of weeks. Sharp pull down in the market, horrible volume today. But one of the things that we're looking for here is in a couple of good upmarket days, what happened here? Actually, P&G, Procter & Gamble, pulled back, which was not a very good sign. With a lot of the slowdown, not only domestically, but also internationally, I think Procter & Gamble is pulling back a little bit more, probably going to come back to the 61.50 level probably by Thanksgiving before it goes higher. And again, we are going to be very driven by the EU news to see where we go from here. General Electric, again, a lot of congestion, not really showing us any true price movement. Again, terrible volume day for today. I'm looking for this to stay range bound, but to stay above the 50-day moving average at $15.95 to about $17. I don't think we're going to see a lot out of GE. Telephone, we actually saw it pull back here when it hit this very strong supply resistance area here on Friday of last week. It pulled back. It actually paid its dividend on Tuesday. It didn't go ex-dividend, but it paid its dividend that day, and you could see it had a nice price action yesterday and today, despite that it had pretty bad volume. What are we seeing for telephone here? I think we're going to just be range bound. I don't think we're going to be any less than 28.66 for its 50-day moving average, and I think we'll be range bound here about 29.63. Microsoft has actually had some pretty good price action in the last couple of days. It peaked a couple of weeks ago, pulled back, but I think we're going to see some pretty strong price action here on Microsoft, possibly to retest the 2750, 2775 supply resistance area here. If we pull back, we're going to pull back to this demand support area here around 2450. So there's a possibility that with poor EU news that we're going to see a sharp pullback. But interestingly enough, we actually have a bullish candlestick here and above average volume, which is encouraging. Despite the fact that it is sloping downward, I think we'll receive an eventual resolution of Microsoft to the upside before potentially a pullback if it can't maintain the 50-day moving average. Coca-Cola has actually had a lot of mediocre price action, well below its average volume, which is not a good sign. I think we're going to see a pullback in Coke, despite that it's the best of breed in its category. I think we're going to see a pullback to the 66, 65, 50 level before we go higher. Again, if we get some terrific news out of the EU we'll retest. If we get really poor news, we're going to retest this level here. If we just get pretty much nothing, I think we're going to see some stagnant range-bound action on Coke. Transportations typically lead the way when it comes to the market. So we saw our low here on October 4th. But if you notice today, we had a terrific bullish candlestick here, but horrible volume behind it. So it got pushed higher on pretty bad volume. So what do we see? I think we're going to see a retest of this zone here before we see a pullback. I cannot see a real catalyst or conviction to push us through this level here before the end of the year. If we push through 5,200 on the transportation index before the end of the year, I think we're going to have a very good January. Again, transportations, financials, and technology will lead the way. So this is a pretty important index. If you want more information on MajesticTrader.com, go to MajesticTrader.com. If you want a sample newsletter, put in your request on our homepage. And if you'd like to try us out for a month at a discount, put in a request for that too and request a promo code, and I'll make sure you get that within 24 hours of your request. Thanks again. This is Ron Lang from Majestic Trader. Have a terrific week of trading. Thank you for attending another MajesticTrader.com's stock chart analysis. Visit our website to request one of our newsletters. Go to our website at www.majestictrader.com. In the upper right-hand corner, put in your email address and your name, and we'll send you out a copy. Once you become a member, you'll have access to complete trade performance, all stock analysis videos, archived newsletters, and midweek alerts that are trading ideas. We'll send those out to you via email. Again, thank you for attending.